And all the suffering indigenous populations in the damnable zoological republic are set free. Chineke na nke pụrụ m ihe niile Chukwu okike abịa onye na-efe na aja aha nsọ ya mma mgbe niile. Onye ọbụla na ya na-achị eluigwe n'ụwa na-agba akaebe ịhụnanya gị na ebere gị amara gị n'ọmịiko gị ebe ndị gị na-eze ebede ngọzi. Anyị wee na-etoghị agbanyeghị atụmatụ ọjọọ niile nke ndị iro. Iwe nye anyị ndụ ala nke dị n'uwere n'ụbọchị nke taa. Anyị wee na-asị na ịja mma niile otu niile dịrị aha nsọ gị. Onye ọ bụ naanị aka ike niile na ọ gbadara aka ya. Anyị wee na-akpọku gị na-asị gị na nke ọma anyị ga-ekele gị, nke ọjọọ ma anyị kelee gị. Anyị wee na-aja gị mma, wee na-eto gị, wee na-asọpụrụ gị n'isi ụmụ gị niile bụ ndị ikwu ndị wee ezi oku mgbe a kpọrọ ha ka ha wee chekwaa ala nsọ gị bụ Biafra onye nwe m na Chineke na ihe n'ikpere anyị nkwa na o mekataghị ka ndị iro wee were ala nsọ Biafra onye nwe m na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe. Agbanyeghị atụmatụ ọjọọ niile nke ndị iro ma ndị na-agba mgbagba ebe niile dị iche iche onye nwe m na Chineke nna n'ihere bụ nke niile etu a n'ụbọchị nke taa. Anyị wee na-eto gị, wee na-asị onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-azọpụta, onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ okwu ya niile bụ ihe na amen. Anyị wee na-asị ezi ebube dị ngọzi na ọtụtụ na ịja mma na nsọpụrụ site n'ebighị ebi ma ruo n'ebighị ebi. Ise ise ise.
Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. If you are joining me from Africa, Asia, Europe, America, Australia, or any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contribution. Please, each time you watch my video, go to the comment section and put down your comments. That is where we learn from each other. We learn a lot from the comment section. I don't speak alone. I am speaking with you. You can equally contribute. You can criticize if you so desire, but do it constructively so that we can learn from one another. That is why we are here. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, you have to say what is happening in your own area. Whatever happens, if you see something, say something. Don't be silent. We cannot allow the conventional media to continue to change the narrative. We cannot allow the conventional media to continue to play down the situation. We will continue to bring the situation the way it is and say it straight the way it is without hating anybody. We are not preaching hate speech. We are not talking down anybody. We say leave and let's leave. And for those who say we will not leave, just like the Fulani Janjaweed have said, they will not leave either.
Let's switch to security now, and joining us this morning to talk about this and several other issues around it is Alfred Ononugbo, who is a security consultant, a criminal intelligence specialist, and a forensic investigator. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's always my joy to be here with you.
Well, so many things have been happening. I don't even know where to begin right now. But, you know, reading through reports of those who experienced the attacks on Maiduguri and the responses of the government to it and the appeal of the governor of the state that the army needs to be a little more aware, a little more proactive, a little more ahead of the issues, seeing that they came much closer home than before. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. Let me first condole with the families of those that were killed at that attack, and also the state and people of Borno. Of course, Nigerians in general.
So far, it seems that from the records of the army, as far as the army is concerned, there was no fatality in that attack.
Well, that's what the army said, but media And also the governor was quoted to have admitted that about 10 lives were lost, out of which 9 were children. I think that's an area we need to improve on in dealing with the challenges of the insurgency. If people are not well informed, the social media is an open ground. They create information and people cannot be kept. Gone are the days when the official channel of educating and enlightening the people was just the government spokesperson. Today with social media, information flies in seconds. So you cannot say there's an official government position any longer. It used to obtain in the past when there were limitations on open source intelligence. And I think that's one area we might be looking at, encouraging the government to make some adjustments. But information out there shows that lives were lost, and I sincerely want to condole with those families.
Well, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is to even wonder how this happened in the first place. I mean, you're a forensic investigator. In terms of getting ahead of the issues, or even trying to resolve it, what are the things that you would be looking for? What are the things that you would expect the authorities to take a look at? I mean, look at some of the pictures that we saw on the screen, and I'm sure that they will still come on again. I also recalled one of the reports read, that one of the people who said he just heard a loud noise and he went out, and he concluded, as far as he's concerned, it was a mortar bomb, whatever that means. So in terms of at least unraveling what exactly happened, what are the things you would recommend? Look at these pictures. What are the things you would recommend that the authorities should be looking at? Perhaps one would say that the crime scene has already been tampered with?
I've always maintained that our intelligence platforms should be a very serious concern to us as a nation. And there must be concerted effort to build the structures for intelligence gathering. The world, like I said, have moved on. There are certain things that cannot happen in certain places because of the kind of infrastructure, security infrastructure they've deployed to check the flow of threats. And that is a very serious thing. Now, when you look at it from a conventional perspective, the army seems to have made inroads in pushing back the insurgents or the terrorists, because for them to revert to engagement in the dimension they've gone to now shows that they can no longer move freely around. The era of using human beings as transmitting devices are gone. We don't record, a lot of suicide bombing experiences anymore in this whole insurgency. So it also shows that they've also upgraded. They've moved from using human shield or human vehicles for attacks to acquiring sophisticated weapons that has the capacity to engage the government and the soldiers from vantage positions. So we need to look at the structure of our intelligence gathering, because that is what will determine the performance of the men on ground. If they don't have intelligence, if they don't have any way of gathering information, it will be a big challenge on their planning. Now, what intelligence gathering does is that it helps the government, it helps the army to understand the activities of the insurgents and plan effectively on how to meet them on their ground and neutralize them. So there's a need to review our intelligence structures. We also need to know what are their challenges. one thing is to identify that we're having problem with intelligence gathering. Another thing is to know what exactly are their problems, are there conflicts, are there challenges, are there issues that has impeded on their capacity to get to places at the right time, get the right information. So these are things that...
there's some, my apologies for butting in. Some of these issues are not unknown to the authorities. For instance, we've had cases where, I mean, even some, images that circulated all over the place, that the topography of some of these areas make it difficult for security personnel to move around, for their vehicles to move around. And there are a lot of ungoverned, parts of the country and all of that. So one wonders if these are known to us, and these are some of the vulnerabilities that we have, what then can be done?
This is 2021, and the deployment of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, has become a common strategy in intelligence gathering. We also have the open source intelligence gathering, which helps because, you see, one of the things the terrorists want to do is to also send messages out. They needed to publish their activities. They want to gain endorsement from their groups, and they also need the social media platform. They are on the internet. They have websites. So through open source intelligence, we can harvest information that will be very critical, very useful. We don't need to be in those dangerous terrains. We can deploy. We have Nigeria has the resources, if put in place, to deploy technologies that could help detect time-based information from the activities of these terrorists. I'm aware that some years back we made effort at launching a satellite in the orbit. Now, we need these equipment today. We need these technologies today, because it's not everywhere you send human beings. And some engagements are most efficient when you use technologies that can knock out these guys and reduce human casualty.
Is it that we don't know these things? Because, I mean, just recently, the vice president, was speaking, and he made the same call, asking that, we should be more, we should leverage technology. And I don't think it is something that is unknown to us. For instance, let me quote the vice president. At a time when national resources are stretched thin, we have to come up with technology-driven solutions to addressing our security needs. And he also called that we should be more proactive, not reactive. In terms of being proactive, what has been missing? The question that I usually ask when these things happen is, how can such a thing happen and we didn't know about it? I don't believe, I maintain it, that we have an intelligentsia or an intelligence community in this country that does not know what to do. So, in terms of getting ahead, of being proactive, what are we missing?
My take is actually that there is a conflict of interest somewhere. The political class wants to maintain their hold on their areas and present themselves to be doing what the people want. And sometimes ethno-religious interests creep in. Secondly, some of these minds are embedded within our communities. They are part of our social and community, structures. And then to knock them out, sometimes you find that they are linked to certain values that dominate the thinking, dominate the thoughts of that community.
Is this information unknown to us?
Well, it's not about being known to us. It's about having the political and patriotic will to ensure that the right thing is done at the right time, irrespective of the consequences. But for a politician, he thinks about the next election. He thinks about, 2023.
So you see more politics at play here than...
Definitely.
Oh dear.
We have a big issue with our political class. We lack the political leaders of yesteryears who were driven by vision, passion, and discipline. People who came to give. They were using their resources to serve the people. We've left that era totally. We are looking at benefactors from a kind of challenge system.
Okay.
That's why we talk about, which is not part of this discussion today, the consequence of corruption, in a state.
So you see a nexus among all these issues joined together.
Extremely,
okay.
Yes.
Well, there's another perspective to this conversation, and it's happening in Abuja. Markwe.
Thank you, Ayo. We have with us this morning Commander Manu Yagda, who is a retired Navy Commodore. He's a member of the Presidential Think Tank on Defense and Security, and also the Chairman Foundation for Civilian Peace in Nigeria. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning, Commander.
Thank you very much, except that you are not hearing from the microphone.
No, it's fine. As long as you can hear me, it's fine.
Yeah.
So let's get the conversation started. A few incidents have happened in recent times that have, caused, I don't want to say, let's say it is called for some concern, among stakeholders. We know about the ongoing insurgency in the Northeast. Some progress has been made to the extent that the governor is now trying to empty the camps, the IDP camps, and saying people can go back to their communities. I mean, there have been cases where people have been empowered and asked to return back to their original communities, or at least to stay within Maiduguri, but just leave the camps. And the governor is also saying that NGOs should not give any humanitarian assistance to these people anymore. However, the explosions which rocked Maiduguri 2 days ago, 3 days ago, threatened to destabilize all of the progress that seems to have been made. Where would you say we are with regards to returning peace and quiet to the Northeast region, especially Maiduguri?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to clear some air on what happened in Maiduguri about 2-3 days ago. Actually, it was an RPG that was fired by the insurgents into 1004. And mark you, that was not the only place. They fired it at Jemtilo, where military people keep security. Then they fired it on the other side of Auno. Now, the one of 1,000 housing estates, which landed into the housing estate, where we have some casualties. You see, these insurgents, each time military claims that they have degraded insurgents to a certain level, in order to register their presence, they normally come closer to the town and then fire their RPG and then go back. That's one thing. Another thing is, each time these people, they want to show their presence, when they fire their RPG in a particular direction, meanwhile, they have their own tacticians. They try to enter Maiduguri. Enter Maiduguri, not to capture Maiduguri, not to do anything, but their intention is to register their presence. There are 3 areas where they normally enter Maiduguri. Number one, they enter through Muna. The other come from Dushman, or they enter through Jidari, Polo Estates. Those are the 2 major areas where they normally enter. That side of the Auno, that's the Jemtilo side. Because it is banned by military, they don't normally enter that side. They normally attack through that side if they want to transfer their logistics from northern Borno to southern Borno. That's why they normally inform us. So what happened in Maiduguri 3 days ago, it is not something new. Not that something has changed. It is true that when military say there's no cause for alarm, because it's a regular thing. So there's nothing special about the presence of Boko Haram. Now, there's one thing. Somebody says that the insurgents are getting closer to
just before you say that, when the military says there's no cause for alarm, there's no cause for alarm. But if they are firing, because these places which you are talking about,
yes,
they are new settlements. They are the places where the government has recently built up, so that people can go and stay there. 1,000
houses is not a new settlement. It was built since during Ali Modi Sharif's time.
But people live there.
People live there, but it's not a new settlement. People live there.
So if people live there and they are firing into the places that people live, isn't that frightening?
No, it's right. It's very it's frightening, because at least we have some casualties. It is frightening. But what I'm saying is, the way people put it, as if there is a new trend of attack on Maiduguri. No, firing of RCB into the town, it has been a regular thing since the time when they. Because let me tell you something. The insurgent we have in the northeast,
Thank you so
it
much.
is not
for
the
your
insurgent we were
patience to
having
watch from the beginning
between
to the end.
2010 to 2015. Because between 2010 to 2015, there was a contest, territorial contest in the area. But now, after 2015, from 2016 to date, they have jettisoned the idea of territorial contest. They just want to register their presence in Maiduguri, I mean in the northeast, and then they have turned it into commercial venture. So that is what is going on.
How do they profit from that?
Okay, I will tell you something. Before Shekau faction, ISWAP faction, which is Al-Barnawi, brought out from Shekau faction. What ISWAP is doing, they try to buy the minds of the populace. Now, how do you see? Asking how do they make money? Any area that is controlled by ISWAP, the people in that area, they pay tax. You are moving with a vehicle, they have their checkpoint in the bush. If you are moving with a vehicle, they stop you. If you are not a military man, you are not a government worker, you are not this thing, they will not touch you. Only pay tax and then pass. But if you are a military man or government function or NYS or something, they will arrest you. And now if I tell you the areas they control in the northeast, in Borno in particular, you'll be surprised. Because if you leave Biu, you are going to Maiduguri. As soon as you reach one village, they call it Mandara Ground. They have their checkpoint down to Sabongari, down to Damboa. Civilians can play that side, but government workers, military, if you play that side, at your own. So all the people around that area, for your information, they are being controlled by these people. If you're Fulani man enters your farm, for instance, and then they eat your crop, you can take the case to them, they will judge, and they pass judgment. Till now, as I'm talking to you, they pass judgment and they say, okay, pay so amount of money.
They're controlling territory.
Till tomorrow. Till tomorrow. So we are talking about Maiduguri. Let me tell you something. 5 kilometers outside Maiduguri, nobody goes more than 5 kilometers outside Maiduguri without an escort. So now that they have come closer, they have been close, 5 kilometers. And this has been there since 2016 to date.
So when they now fire rockets into Maiduguri, you say we shouldn't be alarmed?
Yeah, no, it's painful that actually we have casualty. But we see when somebody gets alarmed, you think maybe whether the insurgency is escalating or is increasing. No, it is not. They only register their presence. And for your information, as Christmas is coming now, we'll start experiencing a lot of attacks into Maiduguri, just to register their presence.
And there's nothing we can do about it to quell it, since we already know that we can anticipate this.
You see, there are so many things. But now you want to take me into another area. What you are trying to say is, what can government do? Those are the areas. Let me tell you something. Even the military, they are trying their best. But there are some peculiar things that unless the political will is there, we'll just be wasting our time. Well, I'm sorry to say that. But I'm telling you, if we have not changed the way we handle things in this country, for the next 10 to 15 years, insurgency is not going to end in the Northeast. For your own information. I will tell you one thing. Today, we will get an information that Boko Haram is mustering in a particular area. We will let the military know. So, okay, Boko Haram is mustering in so and so place. Hardly can military either detach a helicopter to go to that place, to go and liquidate that place and come back. In most cases, when you say, okay, the military have reacted and demolishing Boko Haram, all this and that, it is the Boko Haram that have the initiative. They bring the attack. Then we react.
Why is that so?
Well, I think I would like to bring another thing. In this present military setup, there is a level of cooperation between the army and the Air Force to a certain level. But before this administration, there was totally no cooperation between the Air Force and the army. And you know, in modern warfare, nobody wins war alone.
So you put this down to a lack of cooperation that used to exist between the agencies, but you say that it is improving. So,
it is improving to a certain level.
If it is improving and we are still at the point whereby we hear that
you know where the problem comes from? Up till now, as I'm talking to you, we do not have what is called a real joint operation in the Northeast. Because it is the Chief of Army Staff that appoints the theater commander. Not the Chief of Defense Staff, it's the Chief of Army Staff. And now if it is a joint operation, DHQ, which is being controlled by Chief of Defense Staff, is supposed to appoint the theater commander. If he appoints the theater commander, because the Chief of Defense Staff is the head of the 3 services. He's the head of the 3 services. If he appoints the Chief of Defense Staff, now they will have air elements.
Theater commander, you mean?
Yeah, theater commander. The man in charge of the whole operation in the Northeast. Now, if the Chief of Defense Staff appoints it, that means Army, Navy, Air Force, they are all under the Chief of Defense Staff. They are under the under the theater commander. But as I'm talking to you now, yeah, gentlemanly, they operate under the theater commander. But in reality, Nigerian Air Force is not under Nigerian Army. Neither Nigerian Navy is under the Nigerian Army. So if Nigerian Army say, okay, we should go and do this, the Air Force man there, he cannot just go because he has his own service chief, and his service chief must give him permission first before he goes. This is a lacuna. And we'll be insisting, let there be a joint operation. Joint operation was abolished since the time of Ihejirika and Ola Ibrahim. I remember Ola Ibrahim. That was the time when they abolished joint operation and created 7 div. And that was based on sentiments, based on parochial reasons that they established that operation. So until such operation is converted, because look, let's say about 2 o'clock now, and there's an attack, and you need on the army, and you need air support. The theater commander can say, okay, Air Force, go to that place. Just tell the Air Force, then the Air Force will tell the CAS, the Chief of Air Staff, then the Chief also order the Air Force go. So these are the problems. Until such problems are rectified, but from look at things, people are not ready to rectify the problem for obvious reasons.
What is the obvious? I'm not saying the reason. You say for obvious reasons. The reasons are not obvious to me.
The truth of the matter is, ego is always there. Political will is always there. Because today, if I were to be the Minister of Defense, the first thing I will do is to structure the armed forces as a Minister of Defense. I will remove that operation from the Nigerian Army and then hand over to Chief of Defense Staff. In that case, if there's any lopsided, if anything happens, I know who to hold. But now, the operation is under Nigerian Army. And there's an attack on army formation. If Nigerian Army calls for air support, and maybe they didn't get it on time and it resulted into casualty, who do you hold responsible? You cannot hold the Nigerian Air Force. You cannot hold the Nigerian Air Force because either nobody told them or they were given the information late. But if they are under the theater commander directly, immediately there is a report. The theater commander will just give operation without taking permission from the Chief of Army Staff.
Isn't that going to be problematic? Because some people believe that, I mean, what you're saying for a number of people might be far-fetched, but, it's a reality. There have been questions as to why, the DHQ is not as coordinating as it ought to be. It's not playing that coordination role which it ought to be played. But some people have also spoken about the rank of who the theater commander will
exactly.
be. Isn't that going to be a bit problematic?
No.
Will he be of the same rank as, say, the Chief of Army Staff and the Chief of Air Staff? And
yeah, exactly. This is one of the reasons. I will tell you one typical example. Assuming the Air Force officer in charge of the Northeast is a vice AVM, Air Vice Marshal, and then the theater commander is a major general. Supposing the theater commander is junior to the AVM, the Air Force, how do you think the order will be effective? I can't take order from my junior just like that. Yeah, gentlemen, yes, but I cannot take order from my junior. But if it's under the DHQ, DHQ will appoint the theater commander based on rank. But the Nigerian army can change the theater commander at any time he feels like the former regime. Some of them 6 months they will change them. And by the time you appoint a senior Air Force officer in that place, then immediately they change the theater commander to a major general who is junior to the officer. He can't give him order. So these are the things. We want everything to move under the Chief of Defense Staff.
And the three, there's a theater command which you say yes, the army is currently in charge of, but the three services cannot appoint their own individual, leaders to jointly cooperate with the army in the operation. They can
appoint. They do appoint. But what I'm telling you now is, assuming now, let me just paint a picture. Assuming the theater commander, the present theater commander.
Because there has to be a leader. There
has to be an
overall leader.
Assuming the theater commander now is a regular 56. Let's take for example. And then Air Force and Navy say, okay, since the theater commander is regular 56, let them appoint regular 57 or 58 in the army, in the Air Force and the Navy. He's there. But at any time the Chief of Army Staff likes, he can change that Major General because he's in charge. And he brings somebody that is junior to those people. Must Air Force start looking for this to change their appointments? Because everybody has his own appointment organogram.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. So until such a time, such problems are corrected, we continue to have a problem in the Northeast.
Wow. Let's quickly flip this to Lagos now and see what reactions my colleague has from our guests in the studios there. Ayo.
It's interesting that I'm not a guest on this program because there are so many questions buzzing in my head. I'm pretty sure the same for Mr. Ononubu here. First of all, your reactions to some of the things that you've heard.
You can see that he's talking from experience, and that's true. There's a protocol, and if you breach that operational protocol, you create other problems. And I think that's what he's emphasizing on.
How significant is that in the fight against this insurgency?
Well, you see, the military operates a chain of command, and that's a fact. Seniority is seniority, and something makes you a senior. Experience, responsibilities, and of course, that's what determines the ranking. Plus, also, you are a year of joining the service. However, we come back to being patriotic. We come back to accepting the fact that we have threats that's overwhelming, that is bringing the entire country down. Economically, we are suffering. Socially, we are dying. And look at the menace of COVID. With all these threats, there's little we can expect to happen. No matter the magic the government, waves around. So it's a very critical issue, and I will crave the indulgence of the Minister of Defense to take this in and let them process it and come out with something that could just be one part of solving the problem. The other challenge is, of course, we must accept the responsibility to fight for one united, indivisible Nigeria.
We'll come to that. But check on the issue again of what he talked about, the responsibility of the army chiefs, specifically the Chief of Defense Staff. In the situation that we have on our hands, just what is supposed to be the task that the Chief of Defense Staff should be performing here? He has talked about the fact that he needs to be the one making the appointment so that all those, if the appointment is from the CDS, all those who, from other, services in the military apparatus, the Air Force, the Navy, and everyone would know that it's coming from someone above their direct bosses. How significant is that?
Very critical. because if we don't have the order flowing from the right chain of command, it cannot flow. One is that you are accountable to your service. So the army accounts for the operations, the Air Force gives account to their head, and the same goes with the Navy, including the police, the DSS. So if we have, like he is suggesting, a joint operation, and that is well structured, recognizing that the rank means a lot to people in service, is part of an established protocol, then that should be a good option to look at. But then the other side of it is also to eliminate the politics of seniority, religion, and ethnicity. Because I know when we talk about national security issues, we are careful not to inflame things or, allow innuendos that, suggest certain things. But these are critical problems that has eaten deep into the fiber of our society.
Interestingly, he seems to pay a lot more attention to the what do you call it, the kinetic interventions now, and the shortfalls that has existed in that over time, especially coming against the background of the fact that the president has more than once, more than twice, called for coordination among the services to get this job done so that we can eliminate it's tiring. It's almost like we're insensitive when these things happen. People's lives are lost, people's property are destroyed, people's well-being or livelihood is displaced, and we seem to just repeat the cycle, or as someone said, we recycle insecurity.
Yeah, you see, you have to ask me, what are the criterias for appointing these heads of these services? Performance should be one. Record in service should be another, not just years or rank. And if we have a category or class of personnel in the service whose relevance has been outlived, or who are no longer in touch. For instance, we're talking about deploying technology. I'm a forensic person, and we believe in using technology to solve the problems of crime. Now, you are deploying technology, and a man that is analog-minded is heading a digital-driven activity. Certainly, you will not get much done. He will depend on aides to make those decisions, just take credit. So you won't feel the impact of his leadership. It will be like using the media to promote a good governor when actually nothing is happening on the ground. And I think that's the kind of challenges we may have to look into. There are salient things coming up because of the prevalence of insurgency. It's not abating, and we are worried. Questions are now coming, issues are coming up, but there doesn't seem to be a matching response to sit down, analyze these problems, and prefer workable solutions. We are repeating the same thing, and I think we must, and I don't know how people are going to take this, but we must take away the security situation from what we call the federal character issue. Because if you say, of course, it's a sensitive thing, because we polarize along ethnic and religious lines. So you now have to play the federal character thing to make sure that there is harmony. But if we are making appointment based on merit, based on choices that these guys have done this in the past, they've been in these assignments, and these were the results they produced, we're going to see merit-driven service. We're also going to see discipline, because the person driving that project knows that a lot is at stake. And this is about over 200 million Nigerians that must be kept safe. This is about the future of our children that must be secured. So he works for the future, not for the past, not to make a name, and not to see opportunity to make extra income. These are things that we may need to look at. And if we have, for instance, the DSS, I don't know what other establishment, because in each service they have their their intelligence arm that filters the role, the records, the performance track records of every personnel. They should activate this system and make sure that they are credible, so that I don't favor a friend, I don't favor someone that will remember me and take care of me when he gets there.
Speak to the issue he raised also about ego playing a role. He talked about political will, and you've talked about the salience of seniority in the military hierarchy and all of that. Juxtaposing that seniority and all of those things with patriotism and the call by the president, again I mention it, for coordination among the services. Where is the nexus? You've called out the Minister of Defense also to get ahead of the issue. What should he be doing, especially factoring this issue factor in?
I think the Minister of Defense certainly might be handicapped because it's a national issue. Our perception of patriotism in the country has gone down so badly. Even if he's going to make that decision, you will see people tell him, you don't do this, you do that. There are silent things that happen inside the system that doesn't come out. But they play out because if we have to deal with ego, yes, if I'm your senior, I'm your senior. But if I'm an incompetent senior, your seniority is useless. So if you are not shown the way out because somebody wants to keep you in a system where you are no longer productive, then we are harming that system. We are destroying that system.
Who is going to do the sifting? Whose job is it to do the sifting?
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, he's the one that's been calling.
Commander-in-Chief.
He's the one that's been calling for coordination.
He has a national security advisor who is half of his brain when it comes to security matters. We have other establishments that guide the president's decisions on certain security issues. So I think that it will be natural for me to say Mr. President should take seriously these choices, and it might cost him his popularity, if possible, within certain space, but Nigeria stands to gain if the right choices are made for people who run our affairs and manage our security situation as it stands now. We need an emergency and we cannot wait anymore.
Well, interestingly, the president in May set up some committee to ensure that they face that one and hopefully ensure that coordination as well. And let's hope they are at work and able to get ahead of these kinds of things. Alfred Ononugbo, security consultant, forensic investigator, thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Markwe.
Well, Commander, we're still with you, and even though the incident in Northeast is one of them, there have also been concerns along the Abuja-Kaduna road, and as people will be traveling in this season, I think that, they want to travel in peace. They want to experience some tranquility while they travel. So what are your thoughts in terms of how we can ensure that there's security on our roads?
Okay. Thank you very much. The issue of insecurity along Nigerian roads, I will still push the blame back to the government, not to the security agencies.
To the government?
To the government.
Specifically?
Specifically, not to the security agency.
Why?
Let me tell you something. If I were to be Mr. President today, I will call all the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, DGSS, Interior, call all of them. Say, okay, the issue of insecurity along our roads must be stopped. Number one, are these criminals more trained than the security agencies in Nigeria? The answer is capital no. Do they have money more than Nigerian government? The answer is no. Do they have more people more than the security agencies in Nigeria? The answer is no. Do they have more support from international connection more than Nigerian government? The answer is no. Then why should you allow these riffraffs to hold this country to ransom?
I'm sure the president has asked that question.
No.
several times.
But not asking the question. You can ask the question.
We've seen him summon them to the villa many
No.
times.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Forget about the question he asked. I said if I were to be him, and just check for and if something happens between Abuja to Kaduna, like what happened last week, I will tell the service chiefs, I'm giving you guys 48 hours to get these people arrested. If you don't get these people arrested, I will deal with you. If Mr. President fire the IGP, fire either the DGSS or the service chiefs who are supposed to be in charge of that thing, and then bring in new people, and then this service chiefs, you keep them under arrest. The people that you are going to bring them newly, you will see how they'll stop. But in this country, you commit offense, you do something, and nobody talks to you, so you go there and then relax. I'm telling you, if there's a political will, give this country 6 to 9 months, there will be nothing like insurgency, nothing like kidnapping, nothing like banditry in Nigeria.
Well, you're a member of this presidential. You're a member of the presidential think tank.
You see, your own advice. Your own, we have done our constitutional responsibility. We give advice.
You're putting up
But it is not mandatory that the CNC will take your advice. That's one thing. So these are two things.
But have you put up advice that he's taken?
Of course, we have written it several times. Several times. By the time you fire the service chiefs, 1, 2, 3, the people that you are bringing them new, you see how they will sit up. They will bounce on their immediate juniors. Their immediate juniors will bounce on their subordinates, and you see what will happen in this country. But in this country, we commit offense, and nobody talks to you. You go back, by the time they kidnap some people on the road, as the Inspector General of Police or the services, you go and say, okay, you people should go on operation, and you just relax in your house. Whether they get the people, whether they get, nothing happens to them, because they know that nobody's going to fire them. All the service chiefs, they are Mr. President appointees. He hired them, he can fire them at any time he likes.
Well, we'll wait to see what other resolutions will be coming out from the presidential think tank. We have to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I have something very important to say.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.